Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Enam Kanvanta Maravindanalaya Taksham Bhagavatam Samasitam Buddha Sundaranam Nandar Agom Vidamaniya Vishesha Shobha
Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami
Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Andani Yasa Sakalen Priya Priti Manti Vasyanti Panti Kayanti Chiraganti Ananda Chinmaya Sadhu Jala Vigrahasya
Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami
Govindam Adipurusham
Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakati Satma Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakati Satma Bando mui savadhana mate Bando mui savadhana mate Yahara prasade bhai e bhavatori ajai Krishna prapti hoy jaha ote Krishna prapti hoy jaha hote Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Sitete Koriya Kya Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Sitete Koriya Kya Arana Kori Homane Asha Arana Kori Homane Asha Shri Guru Charane Rati Aise Uttama Gati Shri Guru Charane Rati Aise Uttama Gati Je Prasade Pure Sarva Asha Je Prasade Pure Sarva Asha Shakudan dilo je janme janme Prabhu se साकुदान दिलो जे जन्मे जन्मे प्रभु से दिव्य ज्ञान निधि प्रकाशितो दिव्य ज्ञान हृदय प्रकाशितो प्रेम भक्ति जहाते अविद्या विनाश जते प्रेम भक्ति जहाते अविद्या विनाश जते वेद गा जहर चरितो वेद गा जहर चरितो श्री गुरु करुणा सिंधु आदम जनार बंधु श्री गुरु करुणा सिंधु आदम जनार बंधु लोकनाथ लोकेरा जीवाना लोकनाथ लोकेरा जीवाना हा प्रभु करो दया देहो मोरे पादशाया हा प्रभु करो दया देहो मोरे पादशाया हा प्रभु करो दोए देहो मोरे पादचाया एबे जाशु सुख त्रिभुवाना एबे जाशु सुख त्रिभुवाना Srila Prabhupada Patita Pavana Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Prasharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Rama Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jai Radha Kalachandji Radha Kalachandji Radhe Kalachandji Radha Kalachandji Radha Jai Radha Govinda Radha Govinda Shri Radhe Radha Govinda Radha Govinda Shri Radhe Jai Jagannath Jai Jagannath Jaya Baladev Jaya Subhadra Jagannath Jaya Jagannath Jaya Baladev Jaya Subhadra Jai Gauranitai 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 Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai 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 Jaya 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 Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Gurudev 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev Jaya Gurudev 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Jai Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Jai Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Radha Kalachandji Radha Kalachandji Shri Radhe. Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Nitai Gora Haribo, 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 Nitai Gora Haribo. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajaka Acharya Stotara Sata Sri Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Nitai Gaura Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to Sri Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Nanam Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet Nashta Prayesha Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Utamashloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Hare Krishna. So today we'll be reading from Canto 1, Chapter 17, verse 37. Sorry, I'm having a little bit of trouble finding it. Huh. Tanme dharma bhritam shrestha Thanam nirdeshtum arhasi Yatra vaniyato vatsya atishtamste nushasanam tanme dharma bhritam shrestha sthanam nirdeshtumarhasi yatra vaniyato vatsya atishtamste nushasanam tanme dharma bhritam shrestha sthanam nirdeshtumarhasi yatra vaniyato vatsya atishtamste nushasanam. Please recite. Dhanme dharma bhritam shrestha sthanam nirdeshtumarhasi yatre vaniyato vatsya atishtamste nushasanam dhanme dharma bhritam shrestha sthanam nirdeshtumarhasi yatre vaniyato vatsya atishtamste nushasanam. Ready? Let's read the word for word together. Tat, therefore, me, dharma, bhritam, of all the protectors of religion. Shrestha, O chief. Sthanam, place. Nirdeshtum, fix. Arhasi, may you do so. Yatra, where. Eva, certainly. Niyataha, always. Vatsye, can reside. Atishtan, permanently situated. Te, your. Anushasanam, under your rule. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Therefore, O chief amongst the protectors of religion, please fix some place for me where I can live permanently under the protection of your government. Purport. The personality of Kali addressed Maharaj Parikshit as the chief amongst the protectors of religiosity, because the king refrained from killing a person who surrendered unto him. A surrendered soul should be given all protection, even though he may be an enemy. That is the principle of religion. And we can just imagine what sort of protection is given by the personality of Godhead to the person who surrenders unto him, not as an enemy, but as a devoted servitor. The Lord protects the surrendered soul from all sins and all resultant reactions of sinful acts. Bhagavad Gita 1866. Om Jnana Timirandhasya Jnanjana Shalakaya Shakshurum Militam Jnana Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Prabhu Padati Priya Shri Girirajaya Swamine Suvaktre Shastra Vigyaya Drida Sadhana Shaline Radhara Saviharibyam Bhakti Bhyashat Madayine Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Shri Mate Bhakti Vedanta Swamini Tinamine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Prasharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashatya Desha Tarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So I'm going to read the translation purport one more time for my purification. Therefore, O chief amongst the protectors of religion, Please fix some place for me where I can live permanently under the protection of your government. The personality of Kali addressed Maharaj Parikshit as the chief amongst the protectors of religiosity because the king refrained from killing a person who surrendered unto him. A surrendered soul should be given all protection, even though he may be an enemy. That is the principle of religion, and we can just imagine what sort of protection is given by the personality of Godhead to the person who surrenders unto him, not as an enemy, but as a devoted servitor. The Lord protects the surrendered soul from all sins and all resultant reactions of sinful acts. Then Prabhupada suggests a verse of Bhagavad Gita, chapter 18, verse 66. So we're going to give it a read. Well, first, maybe we can do like a little review of this chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam. So, the beginning of the chapter, Maharaj Parikshit is encountered with this person dressed as a so-called Kshatriya, and he's beating a bull and a cow, and this is kind of like a very important part of Canto 1, in which we see that transition from having Krishna in this world, and then having Krishna left, then certain things start to manifest, which are related to religiosity. And then in this regard, Maharaj Parikshit is kind of like doing his kingly duties and whatnot, and then he encounters this situation in which we know the value of a cow. And having seen this, he immediately approached the situation and addressed this so-called Kshatriya, who, and it's basically a Shudra, and asked him to refrain from his actions. And then within all of this situation, the conversation takes place between the bull and the cow, which ends up being a manifestation of Dharma itself and Mother Earth. And they have a conversation with Maharaj Parikshit. And then at this point, Maharaj Parikshit is basically promising protection to the cow and the bull, which is ultimately the duty of a king, of a rightful king, which is to protect every living entity, regardless of whether or not it is an animal or a person. A Kshatriya is fair with all living entities, and sees them in relationship to Krishna. So he is ready to deliver punishment to the personality of Kali in the form of this so-called Kshatriya. And of course, Maharaj Parikshit, there's different understandings of this, in which he's basically he's a huge king, Kshatriya, like he would have killed him from the time he went on to speak to him, but instead he decided to learn about the situation. And but anyways, whenever he's getting ready to kill him, then the personality of Kali surrenders unto him, and it's kind of a Kshatriya code that if someone surrenders unto you, you don't provide punishment in such a way. So what goes on in this specific verse is, basically having Maharaj Parikshit already provided mercy for, him surrendering. The personality of Kali is basically requesting that he allows him to live somewhere where he can receive the protection, his protection, which ultimately Maharaj Parikshit denies. And then in the upcoming verses, he'll explain why he's rejecting that request, and then where he should live according to the activities that he basically is taking on, like meat eating and sense gratification and so on. So I'm just gonna read real quick the verse that Prabhupada suggests in chapter 18. This is Sarva Dharman Parityaja Mamekam Sharanam Vraja Aham Tvam Sarva Papebhyo Mokshayishami Shushaha. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. Purport. The Lord has described various kinds of knowledge and processes of religion: knowledge of the Supreme Brahman, knowledge of the Supersoul, knowledge of the different types of orders and statuses of social life, knowledge of the renounced order of life, knowledge of non-attachment, sense and mind control, meditation, etc. He has described in so many ways different types of religion. Now, in summarizing Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that Arjuna should give up all the processes that have been explained to him. He should simply surrender to Krishna. That surrender will save him from all kinds of sinful reactions, for the Lord personally promises to protect him. In the 8th chapter, it was said that only one who has become free from all sinful reactions can take to the worship of Lord Krishna. Thus, one may think that unless he is free from all sinful reactions, he cannot take to the surrendering process. To such doubts, it is here said that even if one is not free from all sinful reactions, simply by the process of surrendering to Sri Krishna, he is automatically freed. There is no need of strenuous effort to free oneself from sinful reactions. One should unhesitatingly accept Krishna as the supreme savior of all living entities. With faith and love, one should surrender unto him. The process of surrender to Krishna is described in the Hari Bhakti Vilas 11.676. Anukulyasya sankalpaha pratikulyasya varjanam rakshishyanti vishwaso gopitritve varanam tatha atmanikshepa karpanye sadvidha sharanagatahi. According to the devotional process, one should simply accept such religious principles that will lead ultimately to the devotional service of the Lord. One may perform a particular occupational duty according to his position in the social order, but if by executing his duty one does not come to the point of Krishna consciousness, all his activities are in vain. Anything that does not lead to the perfectional stage of Krishna consciousness should be avoided. One should be confident that in all circumstances, Krishna will protect him from all difficulties. There is no need of thinking how one should keep the body and soul together. Krishna will see to that. One should always think himself helpless and should consider Krishna the only basis for his progress in life. As soon as one seriously engages himself in devotional service to the Lord in full Krishna consciousness, at once he becomes freed from all contamination of material nature. There are different processes of religion and purificatory processes by cultivation of knowledge, meditation in the mystic yoga system, etc. But one who surrenders unto Krishna does not have to execute so many methods. That simple surrender unto Krishna will save him from unnecessarily wasting time. One can thus make all progress at once and be freed from all sinful reactions. One should be attracted by the beautiful vision of Krishna. His name is Krishna because he is all attractive. One who becomes attracted by the beautiful, all-powerful, omnipotent vision of Krishna, of them are attached to the impersonal... Omnipotent vision of Krishna is fortunate. There are different kinds of transcendentalists. Some of them are attached to the impersonal Brahman vision. Some of them are attracted by the supersoul feature, etc. But one who is attracted to the personal feature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and above all, one who is attracted by the Supreme Personality of Godhead as Krishna himself, is the most perfect transcendentalist. In other words, devotional service to Krishna in full consciousness is the most confidential part of knowledge, and this is the essence of the whole Bhagavad Gita. Karma yogis, empiric philosophers, mystics, and devotees are all called transcendentalists. But one who is a pure devotee is the best of all. The particular words used here, ma shuchaha, don't fear, don't hesitate, don't worry, are very significant. One may be perplexed as to as to how one can give up all kinds of religious forms and simply surrender unto Krishna. But such worry is useless. I think it's very self-explanatory. Just surrender. End of the class. So, well, there's many things that I can think of, and I didn't really take much preparation to the class. But so for once, going back to the purport on text 37, so it gives us kind of like an insight of, what the mood and the attitude of a rightful leader should be. Maharaj Parikshit, even though, observed this calamity happening in front of him, he just didn't, out of anger, proceed to kill. And oftentimes we see that like in different forms of government within our modern era, that necessarily doesn't take place. There's all kinds of corruption going on, and ultimately, that leads to further contamination of society. Another point that I kind of wanted to highlight, well, certainly, it talks about, furthermore, if that's the duty of a king, then what to speak of the personality of Godhead himself. But, Prabhupada is very straightforward. He just says, all you have to do is surrender. And it's very simple in essence, but of course our conditioning keeps us attached to all of these forms of, sense gratification and entertainment. I can speak for myself that, as much as I try to give up certain things like listening to certain kind of music or eating certain kinds of food, and that's it takes a toll on myself. But the answer is very simple. We just basically have to, take on the process and develop a level of awareness that allows us to relate all of our activities in relationship to Krishna. So, it's not only about giving up everything and becoming so renounced, which Bhagavad Gita, speaks against, but it's rather, making our activities and everything that we do in such a way that pleases Krishna. And then, for that, we, of course, have to go through a purification process, which requires us to, adhere to some principles and, be in association of devotees. So, I don't know, I felt like everything is pretty straightforward in the purport. Do you have anything that you'd like to share in relationship to the verse? Any realizations or? That's a great question. So I've heard this. Right now I'm trying to remember because I heard a class from Radhanath Maharaj, and I'm trying to remember what he said about this. Not coming to mind right now. I'm gonna take a second to think about it. Yeah. Do you have anything you'd like to share, Prabhu, or any realizations? Thank you. I'm not taking. Thank you. I'm just gonna say this without. Yes, sorry, Prabhu. Thank you for sharing, Prabhu. Yeah, and in the upcoming text, it gives a further insight on, what Maharaj Parikshit provides, like the options that he provides for him. Um, and then basically in a short summary, I believe that, what he's basically trying to convey is that, I give you access to a place where, all of these sinful activities take place, which might seem like, a heavenly planet for someone who's like so engaged in these activities. And Maharaj Parikshit even tells him that, he can reside in a place where there's, plenty of gold, and where there's gambling, where drinking takes place, and meat eating. And then at the end of it, he explains that, a person who is really pursuing a spiritual life and someone who is trying to become fixed in Krishna consciousness should avoid all of these places that ultimately lead to, falsity and, just more entanglement, which leads to this whole cycle of, birth and death. So, yeah, it's a very interesting read. Just for the sake of reminding ourselves, you know, what you know what we're putting ourselves into. Like this is, I always remind myself that if pursuing a spiritual life is like basically like if you come to Krishna consciousness, you know that all of that, if you have any desires left for doing anything mundane or anything related to you know um, gratification of the senses, you should definitely not come to Krishna consciousness because it's definitely going to pull you away from all that. So it's a relief, but also, we in the country that we live in and under circumstances we live in, it's kind of like it's so hard not to be pulled into it again. So we have to remind ourselves of the importance of living in, within the parameters of religiosity. So I'm trying to, Guru, I'm trying to give you a fair answer on that because that's a very complex question. I don't want to give you a generic answer. I know I made notes of that somewhere, so maybe I'll just follow up with you. Uh, That's that's beautiful, Prabhu. Thank you so much for sharing. Yeah, that actually made me reflect on what I was trying to like come up with, because I guess I was trying to answer your question through my own dichotomy, which is like yeah, I can say it's so easy to say like I surrender, I give everything to you. Like that sounds so easy. We don't get anything so easy in life, right? Like why why would he be so merciful to do so? Um, but I mean, as you're saying, I mean, Shastra time and time again, and especially in Bhagavatam, Krishna comes in his personal form to reaffirm that promise, that he is willing to, leave everything aside because, as our father, he just wants to, receive us with open arms. But, we've become so contaminated that we try to associate all of our mundane dealings with, what he might think or he might feel about us. Because, and especially, it's part of human nature that we believe ourselves to be what other people think about us. So, anything that we might do or that, we might have done in the past, takes a toll on us, and we let that define us. But of course, Krishna being so forgiving and such a merciful father, he doesn't hold on into any of that. I mean, he's the supreme person. He's all perfect. So he doesn't have that kind of defect as we do, which is to see wrong in things. And then simultaneously, it took me back to like the purport in Bhagavad Gita, where Prabhupada says that, if you're trying to figure out like how to give up all of this and that, don't do it because it's like worthless. It's not gonna work because I guess our mind is just so conditioned, and it's just, it doesn't really make any sense. It's just as easy as, letting ourselves go into the lotus feet of Krishna. And then, of course, there's certain requirements and certain things that come with that because, in a relationship, there has to be some form of reciprocation. So it cannot just be like, I tell you I love you, and, but where are the actions? Like, what are you showing me signs that that's really your honest feeling? And of course, there's all of these prescribed sacrifices and injunctions in Vedic scriptures, but we're so lucky that by the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and by, Srila Prabhupada and our spiritual masters, we're able to take on a process that fulfills all of those requirements, which is by the chanting of the holy name. So as Prabhu was saying, it's as long as we keep Krishna's name in our mouth, one way or another, even though we're very fallen and so conditioned, or I'm going to speak for myself, I am very fallen and so conditioned. By doing so, I have the sincere hope and knowledge that, Krishna will save me. And, by making progressive advancement, I'll be able to purify myself from those things that I know are not favorable and are not appealing to him in a way, because ultimately, Krishna is so forgiving that he'll let go of any of it, But yeah, I thank you so much for such a beautiful reflection, Prabhu. Mm. Jai. No, that's wonderful. Yeah, I mean, who does that, right? Like, who takes just the crumbs? Right. No, that's so nice. Thank you so much. And I apologize for not being able to share more insights, but I appreciate, your attention and your realizations. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.